Here is my Ferrari 296, and this is the hybrid battery out of it. And we think the reason why this car don't start is something to do with this. What would happen if you turned the traction control off on an 820 horsepower Ferrari 296?
Matt Armstrong beat Bugatti. Then Ferrari did something Bugatti never could. They locked him inside the car. Matt Armstrong is back in the news. And it is bad. Not Bugatti bad. Not locked-in bad. Not CEO Instagram video bad. This is different. This is a 100,000-pound Ferrari 296 GTB sitting in a workshop that cannot start. A hybrid system failure message that only Ferrari can clear. A parts block that came out of nowhere midway through the most ambitious build of his career. A catch-22 so perfectly constructed that even Matt Armstrong, the man who split a Bugatti chassis with a rubbish bin, is sitting with an email sent to Maranello and no guarantee of a reply. And the automotive world is watching. Again, because Matt Armstrong is back in the news. And this time the problem is not a manufacturer trying to stop him from the outside. This time the problem is locked inside the car itself. And that is a different kind of bad entirely. Think about the irony of this moment for a second. Because after everything that happened with Bugatti, after the VIN lock and the refused parts and the CEO video and the chassis split and the running engine and the legislative conversation and the Koenigsegg contact and all of it, after Matt Armstrong proved to the entire automotive world that the most exclusive manufacturer on the planet could not stop him from fixing their car outside their network. After all of that, he bought a Ferrari, not because he did not learn anything from Bugatti, because he learned everything from Bugatti. He knew exactly what he was walking into. He knew Ferrari had a blacklist. He knew Ferrari had strict ownership policies. He knew Ferrari had ways of controlling what happened to their cars after the point of sale that made Bugatti's VIN lock look straightforward. He knew all of it, and he bought the Ferrari anyway, because that is who Matt Armstrong is. And because a 100,000-pound wreck Ferrari 296 GTB is exactly the kind of opportunity that the knowledge of how hard it is going to be makes more compelling rather than less. But here is what Matt Armstrong did not know when he bought that crashed 296 GTB. Here is the detail that turned a familiar story into something genuinely new. The car came from Cyprus, a British owner. A violent collision on open road. Suspension ripped out. Floor pierced. Wiring loom torn. The local Ferrari dealership in Cyprus examined the damage and delivered a verdict that Matt Armstrong has heard before in different accents from different manufacturers. Astronomical estimate. Not really possible to repair within the network. Write it off. Move on. The same verdict. The same closed door. And Matt Armstrong's response was the same response he always gives to closed doors. He bought it. He shipped it. He brought it to his workshop. And he said challenge accepted. Because that is the only language Matt Armstrong speaks when a manufacturer tells him something cannot be done. The early stages of this Ferrari build followed the pattern that Matt Armstrong's audience knows intimately by now. Assessment. Strip back. Understand the damage. Document everything. Source what can be sourced. Begin the physical work of returning a destroyed car to something presentable. And in the early stages, the 296 GTB responded the way broken cars usually respond to the right hands. Slowly, expensively, but visibly, panels replaced, structure addressed. The car beginning to look like itself again rather than like an insurance write-off. And the audience, the millions of people who have followed every chapter of the Bugatti story, and every chapter of the Lamborghini story, and every previous project that had brought them to this moment, settled in for another extraordinary journey, because this is what they come for. The process, the honesty, the specific combination of skill and transparency, and refusal to pretend that anything is easier than it is that makes Matt Armstrong's channel unlike anything else in the automotive space. And then he made the decision that changed everything. The decision that transformed a straightforward, albeit extremely challenging Ferrari rebuild into something that the automotive world had never seen before, and that Ferrari, sitting in Maranello watching with the same careful attention they had been paying to Matt Armstrong since the Bugatti situation, was not going to simply ignore. Midway through the rebuild, Matt Armstrong decided to order genuine Ferrari 296 challenge parts, racing parts, track-only version parts, with the goal of transforming his crashed hybrid road car into something unique, something that had never existed before. A Ferrari 296 GTB rebuilt as a 296 Challenge Straight Ale, one of one. An entirely unique vehicle that combined the road car's hybrid powertrain with the visual identity and the aerodynamic package of the racing version, the most ambitious version of what this build could be. And for a brief, tantalizing moment, it seemed like it might actually work. Some of the challenge parts arrived. The build progressed. The car began to take on its extraordinary new identity. And then Ferrari made their move. The block came without drama, without a CEO video, without a public statement or a lock VIN or any of the theatrical corporate opposition that Bugatti had deployed. Just a phone call, a Ferrari representative explaining calmly and clearly that further challenge parts orders were blocked, that the company wanted to ensure every part it produced went to the correct vehicle, clinical, professional, effective. And in that moment, Matt Armstrong understood something important about the difference between Ferrari and Bugatti. Bugatti had fought loudly. Ferrari fought quietly. Bugatti had deployed every visible weapon in their corporate arsenal and handed Matt Armstrong the narrative in doing so. Ferrari had learned from watching that. They closed the door without making a sound. And quiet closed doors are harder to climb than loud ones, because there is no CEO statement to respond to, no public position to challenge, just a block, and a car that still will not start. Because here is the real problem. Here's a detail that makes this Ferrari situation genuinely bad in a way that the Bugatti situation never was at its worst. The car will not start. Not because of a part that needs replacing. Not because of structural damage that needs repairing. Not because of any of the visible physical problems that Matt Armstrong's skill said is specifically designed to address. The car will not start because of 5 words on a dashboard screen. Hybrid system failure. Go to dealer. 5 words that represent the most effective repair barrier any manufacturer has ever deployed against Matt Armstrong, not because they were designed to stop him specifically, but because modern hybrid technology creates a category of problem that no amount of mechanical skill or creative sourcing or alternative engineering can overcome. The hybrid battery controller module, the specific electronic component responsible for managing the 296 GDB's high-voltage battery system, failed in a way that no OBD scanner and no YouTube tutorial can diagnose, in a way that only Ferrari's proprietary diagnostic tools can properly address, in a way that makes the car, despite everything Matt Armstrong has done to it, despite the 100,000 pounds already invested, despite the challenge kit and the wide body and extraordinary visual transformation, completely undrivable, and only Ferrari can fix it. But here is what Matt Armstrong discovered about the hybrid battery that changed the entire calculation of this build. Here is the detail that shifted his approach from waiting for Ferrari's response to taking matters into his own hands in a way he always does when waiting is not an option. He had seen this problem before. Not on a Ferrari. On a Lamborghini Revuelto in his workshop, a previous project with a hybrid battery had suffered similar damage in a serious crash and had proven not just non-functional but irreversibly unsafe. Unsafe in the specific way that high-voltage battery systems become unsafe when they have absorbed serious crash forces. Not a fault that can be diagnosed and cleared. A fundamental compromise of the battery's integrity that means the only safe path forward is replacement. And on a Ferrari 296 GTB, replacing a high-voltage hybrid battery means spending 18,000 pounds. 18,000 pounds for a single component, on top of the 100,000 pounds already committed, on top of everything else the rebuild had cost. An 18,000 pound decision made not because there was certainty it would solve the problem, but because it was the only option that did not involve waiting for a manufacturer who was not responding to do something only they could do. So Matt Armstrong replaced the battery. He spent the 18,000 pounds. He removed the damaged high-voltage system and installed a new one and reconnected everything and held his breath and pressed the start button. And the car still did not start because the battery was not the only problem. It was one problem. And behind it, waiting to be discovered only after the battery had been addressed, was a hybrid battery controller module, the specific electronic component that manages the entire hybrid system. Damaged, beyond what Matt Armstrong or anyone outside Ferrari's authorized network could diagnose or replace without proprietary tools and the factory authorization that only Ferrari can provide. The car needed Ferrari, specifically and unavoidably, and Ferrari, at that point, was not talking. The catch-22 that emerged from this situation is the most perfectly constructed repair barrier Matt Armstrong has ever encountered. And understanding its specific geometry is important for understanding why it is genuinely bad in a way that previous manufacturer obstacles have not been. Ferrari's official position was that they would work on the car, but only if it first went through inspection at a certified Ferrari body shop, a reasonable requirement that implies the possibility of resolution, until you understand what the inspection would find. Because by the point Ferrari issued that requirement, the car had already been fitted with multiple genuine 296 challenge parts. Track-only parts. Parts that Ferrari had specifically blocked further orders of because they were not appropriate for a road car. Parts that a certified Ferrari body shop inspector would see immediately and would be obligated to report. And the presence of those parts would make Ferrari's decision about whether to engage with a hybrid system issue significantly less straightforward. Matt Armstrong needed Ferrari to fix the hybrid controller to be able to drive the car. Ferrari needed the car inspected before they would engage with the hybrid controller. The inspection would reveal modifications that might make Ferrari less willing to engage. And without Ferrari fixing the hybrid controller, the car remained undrivable regardless of everything else. Round and round. A perfect loop. With a 100,000-pound purchase and an 18,000-pound battery, and months of work sitting at the center of it. Now, let us talk about the email. Because Matt Armstrong sending an email to Ferrari is one of the most quietly human moments in his entire public career. Not a public challenge. Not a video calling out the manufacturer. Not a leveraging of 6.2 million subscribers as pressure. Just an email from one person